So next up we've got The Borrower from 1989, which is about an alien who's banished from his planet and sentenced to live on Earth in human form. And there's only one problem with that disguise, because every so often his human head explodes, which reveals his true identity, and it leaves the alien with no choice but to intermittently pop off the heads of arbitrary people and use them until it's time for a new replacement. And he's also got some cops hot on his trail as well. So this is a movie I've seen a couple of times before, and I've always never watched it at the ideal time. Like, I've always been tired, or I've always had something going on which essentially gets in the way from me fully enjoying this movie, I think. But with that being said, I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this movie. It's an entertaining flick. I mean, just listen to that explanation of the movie. It's an alien who looks like a human, and their head keeps exploding. And then they have to take other people's heads and replace it. So, I mean, come on, how can you not be intrigued by that plot? And I noticed this is directed by John McNaughton, who I think this was his follow-up movie to his first feature film, which was Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And that's a movie I'm sure quite a lot of people out there enjoy. And while this one's not quite as good as that movie, I think there's still a lot to enjoy here.
Yeah, so this is a movie I'm sure I briefly saw the name, but I never really heard about it, and it never seemed like a movie that would be that interesting. You know, after seeing it, I thought it was certainly okay, given what they had. I think special effects were, decent. I mean, they weren't great, don't get me wrong, but it was okay.
The special effects I noticed were by Kevin Yeager, he's the guy who made the Chucky doll in Child's Play.
That's interesting. I did not catch that. Yeah, so interesting enough story. I enjoy sort of follows around some police detectives. So the main plot itself is maybe a little goofy. I was actually surprised it was never really too over the top. There were a few scenes I probably could have done without, but for the most part, it's not this alien guy's fault that, hey, he just takes over bodies and blows up the hearts. It's interesting. I sort of appreciated just how cheap the opening to the movie was. Sort of cracked me up. Hey, we are banishing you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Sort of reminded me of one of the greatest movies, actually. So it was an interesting movie. It's not like I can't imagine me going out of my way to see it again anytime soon. But I definitely had an okay enough time with it, even though I might not necessarily rate it that highly.
With that opening, it makes you feel a little warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that we are basically the scum of the universe, and being sent to live on Earth is a punishment. So, we're the lowest life form, apparently.
Well, I could see it.
Yeah. Makes me feel good. One other thing towards the beginning of the movie, when we get introduced to the two main cops, one of them played by Ray Dawn Chong, she's holding up this one guy, trying to arrest him. I just thought it was amusing that, and I don't know if this is like an American thing, they're just used to guns being held out everywhere, but they just have people walking out of the store, just casually walking right between them as she's got a gun pointed to this guy trying to arrest him, which allows him to, grab one of them. But I just thought that was a bit odd that they just casually walk in between an arrest.
Yeah, probably just, hey, get out of the way, I'm just going to leave it. To be fair, I've never lived in a big city, but to a certain point, now probably not this casual, but I can sort of imagine there being some type of, hey, I'm sort of used to this situation.
What was the best moment in the movie for you?
Well, this might sound sort of strange, but I actually sort of liked the sort of I wouldn't say friendship, but how the alien guy was getting a little more used to hanging out with Antonio Fargas.
Is that the homeless guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who actually was in the Starsky and Hutch series from the 70s, who I recognized, so that was sort of interesting. But, it's just a small thing, and we see it didn't really necessarily end up well. But it's sort of like a human/alien element to the movie.
Yeah. Closer to the end, where he's replacing heads and he surprises us with a dog head. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, actually, speaking of which, the ending itself seemed a bit, I wouldn't say lackluster necessarily, but I was expecting a little more from it. I mean, it was okay, but it seemed like once it got to the morgue, it seemed like really quick.
Well, I guess it's one of those things where you spend the movie trying to kill the thing and you can't kill it, and so you just go with whatever ending you can, like without wrapping it all up in a nice little bow, because you can't kill it. Anyways, this is one of those movies that I wouldn't be opposed to someone trying to remake this movie. It's an interesting plot here and they did well enough for it with the budget they had, and it's an 80s movie, so it's still got a little bit of that charm there as well, but it certainly could be improved upon as well.
I feel like if they did that, there's a potential chance it might lose some of the charm it has. Not that I'd be against them trying, but I sort of feel that seeing a newer version of this might not, it may not come across as well as we might hope.
Yeah. Well, if a remake is no good, then you just ignore the remake.
We do it without the other one.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I've never quite been able to watch this one while I've been in the best mood to watch it, but despite that, I still feel it is a fairly entertaining movie. And, there's amusing moments, there's gory moments. Who doesn't enjoy some of that action music in the movie? I'll go with a 7 out of 10 for this one.
Yeah, I think it was okay. It's not really my type of movie. Like I said, I'm happy that they were able to keep it toned down a bit. While there was some comedic elements, it was never too overwhelming. There was even some more serious moments touched on, like some of the, like there's a sort of serial killer type guy in the movie who attacks women and such. So I think it was okay. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but it's not a movie I would necessarily call good. But it's certainly, if you've not seen it, it's and you've not really heard much about it, and you're into more like the sci-fi side of the genre, it might be worth checking out.
Check it out, you human scum. Lowest life form in the universe.